Hello and welcome. I'm on the alt account that I used to play through all of Progression with live on YouTube. I left a very important piece of progression out though. I did not live stream myself getting my first Fusion Draketooth for some reason. I also got a Speedy and Striking Gemstone off stream. I want to show how I got these items and bridge that gap between those two streams. I've recreated the stats that I had when I unlocked Massacre Campaign Summit for the first time. I had about 3,300 power, 2,200 defense rate, and 2,900 range is the important one here. 2,900 range is going to allow your DSTs to hit the dragon when he lands north. And I had 4K power on my buff beam EV, 2K fort. I'm going to use some walls, but they're not really going to be used for absorbing damage as much as they are messing with pathing for dark elves. I've got 3,500 range on my aura monk, and the rest of the stats don't really matter as much. He's only going to do a couple of ensnares. I've got a boost monk here as well. His skill and boost don't really matter as much. Vitality is kind of his main stat. Whatever skill and boost you get from gear is fine. He's in Ancient, Synthesized Ancient. It's not going to matter. I'm not using his ensnares anyway. And I've gotten these stats. I had these stats from farming Ancient Mines, Massacre, Survival Hardcore. What I did was I unlocked Ancient Mines and Massacre, played up until I hit 90 on my Apprentice, EV, and Aura Monk, and then they were 90 and I geared them up and then played through the rest of the Massacre campaign. And I also had a boost monk in the mix as well. Those are the heroes that I'm going to be using to farm the Summit on Massacre campaign with these stats. As far as the process goes, what I did was I jumped into Massacre campaign Hardcore Summit Rifted off. I did a normal playthrough with Hardcore on of the Summit campaign, and then after I completed that, I got my first Fire Draketooth. This Draketooth does fire damage. I used this Draketooth on my boost monk to then go back in to the campaign and play Summit again, this time with Hardcore off and Rifted on. That's what I did, so that's what I'm going to recreate here. Alright, let's jump into the first run with Hardcore on and Rifted off. I'm going to aim my DSTs in a specific way, and they're all going to be lined up on a buff beam that goes across this here, this little patterned piece of ground here. I aim them so that they'll be able to hit him. No matter where he lands, he'll have DSTs on him. So the first one's going to go here, and I'm going to aim it toward that side. I'm just going to put a little piece of the aimer on the gargoyle. That way I know that if he lands over there, if the dragon lands over there, he's going to get tagged. This DST is going to be able to hit him. Same thing here. A little bit of the aim on the gargoyle. They're also going to be able to hit the copter lanes and the ogre lanes in the south, on the south side of the map. Same deal here, except these are going to be facing north, and I'm going to cut into the stairs on the side there. Just aim so that anything coming around that corner and down the stairs is going to get targeted by these DSTs as well. And the way it goes is I do 4 DSTs per wave, and I'm going to drop the buff beam this wave too. This buff beam is going to go right on this little square spot here and kind of just stretch across. Make sure that it's in the middle of the DST, something like that is fine. And yeah, that's my 4 DSTs. I'm going to play through these waves on my DST, my Tower Apprentice. Overdrive, I get the builder bonus here, 33%. The first few waves, this is what I do. That way I can run around and collect mana on him while the wave is going, and then have the whole build phase to build with. I do also overdrive the DSTs with him. That is activating your hero boost, doing your secondary attack, and then I turn the hero boost off to not waste mana. For collecting mana on the second wave, you want at least 600 mana. That's going to allow you to put down another 4 DSTs. Once you have 600, you've got enough. Don't waste more time getting all of the mana. If you have 600, that's the most important thing. And then you want to be able to get your next 4 DSTs down before the build timer runs out. So same deal. I'm going to aim these next 4 the same exact way. I'm crossing them up so that they have better targeting on spiders dropping in and dark elves rushing at the tower stack. It's just going to allow the DSTs to cover each other. That's why I like to have them cross each other up this way. It is a little bit wasteful of their range, but I think the coverage is worth it. That's the idea. So one more going down here, and you know, the build timer here doesn't matter as much. I'm staying on the Tower Apprentice anyway. One more overdrive. The overdrive, of course, is going to jack up their attack rate much faster. I'm at 0.59 seconds with the overdrive active on those towers. Once it falls off, goes back to 1.06, so it is a substantial increase in attack rate, which is why I like to keep that overdrive active, that overcharge, active while I'm playing my apprentice. Alright, I've collected mana again, sitting on 855. Same game plan here. 4 more DSTs, all crossing each other up the exact same way. And you can definitely build during the next wave if you didn't actually get all of these down right away. I know building on a controller is not this easy, so I'm thinking this build would allow for enough time to get it done on a controller. You don't need to be this precise with the placement either. Something as long as they're on the beam, really, that's all that matters. But I've got those towers down there, and I'm going to cool it for this wave just in case I'm a little ahead of any controller players. I hope I'm not trying to be, derogatory or demeaning. I know it's tougher to build with a controller, so I'm trying to make this a little more accessible. But now we've got 12 DSTs, 3 facing the northeast and northwest, and 3 facing the southeast and southwest. Pretty sure I screwed that up, the directions. But yeah, we can just run this wave out. While I'm waiting for this wave to end, I do want to build a few flame burst towers. They're going to help out a little bit with the minor enemies. I do a couple over here on this pillar on the front on both sides. That's just going to help kill some of the minor enemies and deal with some of like the goblins and stuff. That way the DSTs can focus on the more important enemies. I'm also going to drop a flame burst right on top of this torch back here. And I'll have one more DU after I drop the rest of the DSTs that I'll use to put down a reflect beam right in front of this guy, because ogres are going to come out and they'll want to throw snot balls at this. So I use the remaining DU after I finish the DSTs to protect that flame burst. Alright, the wave is over. Gonna drop my reflect here. Last time I'll be on another hero, or this is the only thing I use the EV for the non-rifted version. And then I've got 3 more DSTs to put down over here actually. And nothing changes, no surprise here. Cross the rest of these DSTs up with one another. If you've got the 28-2900 range, then you'll have no problem having all of these DSTs hit the dragon at one point or another whenever he decides to land. It might look like the range is a little short on a couple of them, but once they hit the beam, they get a chunk of range increase on their range from the bonus on the buff beam. Speaking of which, I've got no DU left, but I've got some mana, so I'm going to upgrade the buff beam as much as I can. And now I'm going to swap to the boost monk, play the rest of this out on the boost monk, drop a tower boost. Now, you'll notice that I'm not using a pet. I'm not going to assume that anyone doing this for the first time got lucky and has a speedy gemstone. Maybe you played through Massacre, Ancient Mines, Survival, and you didn't have a speedy. I know people have done that. I know it's possible. So if you don't have a speedy or a powerful or a gemstone to help yourself out with this build, it's not that big of a deal. It would help. It would help. But if you don't have one, it's not that big of a deal. You can still get away with doing this. I am going to, of course, tower boost on these DSTs. Going to help them put out substantially more damage. Doing 752k per shot here with the tower boost active. That's a substantial increase. Without the tower boost, 443. So not double, but probably like 80% more damage. It's substantial. You'll definitely want to keep that active to help burn down those ogres. These flame bursts are going to put in work over here and kill anything that makes it around the bend up top. Otherwise, you'll have you'll have goblins coming around and coming up and hitting the core. Goblins are very low on the priority list for DSTs, so they'll actually let goblins just come right up this lane. These flame bursts stop that from happening. When I have 1 second left, I drop a tower boost. That way, they're boosted right away. I wait and see which way he goes. Now, you can boost jump. You can make this, but I know controller players have a tough time with that. So you can just run to this one, straight to this one instead, and get him. You don't have to get him as soon as he hits that ballista. You can just wait for him to either stop at that ballista or go to that one instead. It's a lot easier to make it to this one than that one after he leaves when he drops in on the map. And he's north now, which is a great place for him to be. You kind of want him to go north. I'm going to go get him again. And this is what I would say to do. Yeah, do like this the first time. If you're playing with a controller and that boost jump is rough, that way if he stops, you can just come up here and get him. It's not really a big deal. You're safe from fireballs if you go right up against the ballista. They come down at an angle, and yeah, they can't really get you because you're kind of being shielded by the ballista. So I'm going to go back and drop a tower boost again on my DSTs. He is east, so I'm going to kind of start heading over now. It's as soon as you boost, you should head over because he's going to leave, and if you're not here right away to drop that shot on the ballista, you're going to miss him. So I head right over after I boost if he goes east or west. Probably got a minor enemy or two. Yeah, I've got a bunch of goblins up here. They're not going to be able to do enough damage to take out my crystal. So it looks like he's going to go down. All right, that was cool. A 3-cycle. But that is the run hardcore non-rifted. So I'm going to pop the chest here, and I get a Draketooth. It might not be a good one, but if it is a 190, that is a great Draketooth for hardcore non-rifted. So I'm going to take that, and what you do now is you can take this Draketooth, and now you can do a rifted non-hardcore run. That way if you die, it's not that big of a deal, but if it's rifted, the loot floor is a lot higher and you'll get a fusion version. Yeah, make sure you level projectile count as a priority here, plus 6 projectiles before you max out the weapon, and then it'll have 7 projectiles. I'm not gonna level this one. I'm actually gonna use the one that I got. Oh, and here we go. So I'll level it just to show something. So it's a mythical right now. I'm gonna upgrade it. If I were using it, this is how I would upgrade it. This is a point of contention. For some reason, people don't believe me when I tell them this. So now it's maxed out. It's still mythical. I'm going to G up, hit the tavern. Oh, I got a gemstone too. I guess I'll see which one I got. But I'm going to hit the tavern and watch. It's going to be trans now. So now it's trans. A lot of people don't believe me when I say a weapon or a piece of armor can change from godly to trans, or trans to godly, or mythical to trans, or whatever. It's all tied to item power. You get a massive jump in item power when you upgrade an item, so that's why it changed. So now I'm going to jump back into it. I'm going to jump back into it, but I'm going to equip. I'm going to do the 150. You know, a 190 is pretty lucky. I'm going to use my 150 Draketooth and jump back into it. This time, campaign, summit. I'm going to turn rifted on, hardcore off, and now I'm going to jump into it. Now, you would get a better Draketooth if it was hardcore on, but the nice thing about hardcore being off, I'm going to G up, no build timer. I have all the time in the world to put this build down. Now I do make a couple changes. I start everything off exactly the same, so I'm going to jump forward a couple waves. One slight change for the first couple waves. While the build is the same, I do play it on my boost monk. This is where a speedy gemstone would really come in handy, but now that I've got my Draketooth, I can also deal substantial damage on my hero as well. So for the first wave or two, I can help out with some Jinn and Sharkin and stuff. Give the DSTs a hand, since they're dealing with some harder enemies here with Rifted. Your Draketooth does good damage. It's got 7 projectiles and they all hit pretty hard, so I'm going to help out with these Jinn and Sharkin and stuff, just for the first wave since we've only got 4 DSTs. But no build timer, so no pressure during the build phase. Alright, I'm heading into wave 3. Here is where things change. I'm going to add some walls instead of flame bursts to help deal with these dark elves. So I'm going to do a 3DU wall stretched across here. Now what can happen is a goblin might sneak under this, but it's worth it because dark elves are going to run up to this and they're not going to know what to do. They can't fit under it and they can't jump over it here, so they kind of, if I put this down right, if I did this right, they're going to sit here and kind of not know what to do and be stuck. The dark elves are going to be rifted, so they're not going to be targetable by your DSTs. You get a wave of 2 rifted dark elves for wave 3, and then you get, I believe, 4 for wave 4 and wave 5. The 2 you get on wave 3 both come from the south side. For waves 4 and 5, you get 2 from the south and 2 from the north. So I've got these walls here for the ones that come from the south side. I've got 2 DU walls going down here for the ones that come from the north side. Now these don't have the same effect as stopping the Dark Elf dead in his tracks right here. But what it does do, when they come up, they have to jump over this wall. So it delays them, it gives you time to deal with them. And once you see them coming in and see them trying to jump over the wall, my move is always to run over to the DST stack and stand on top of it. That way the Dark Elves can't really get to you and they don't attack the DSTs either. You'll see what I mean in a bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and G up this wave here. So this is what I was talking about, this Dark Elf. He's just kind of here. He kind of tries to jump, but he gets stuck here, and my Draketooth is going to be plenty of damage to kill him, and basically he's a non-issue. Even if you place these walls in such a way where they end up jumping over them, they're able to, you still have a lot more time to deal with them. But this, I find, is the easiest way to at least deal with the ones coming from the south side. Here's something to look out for. You'll see this wall has some damage on it, as well as this DST and that one too, a bit of splash damage. This happens if you get an ogre out of the north side. He stops, throws his Rifted Cobalt. It doesn't quite make it, but it does pop before it gets to your DSTs and does some decent damage to your wall here and this DST and a little bit to this one. So you may have to repair or upgrade a wall or a DST to deal with that. Alternatively, if you see him coming, you can always distract him, have him throw the kobold at you, sort of bait the kobold out of him, and then it'll go somewhere up in the middle of the air if he throws it at you while you're jumping, and then you won't have to worry about that. Plenty of mana heading into wave 4. I'm gonna go ahead and finish out the build here. No surprises for the DST stack. It's the exact same setup. So at the end of this, I'm gonna have 6 DU left, and I'm gonna be honest with you, this build, there's probably a better way to do this. I don't really know. This is just what I wound up doing to get myself my first Fusion Draketooth. It worked out. This is sort of what I did when 1.2 first dropped on my main account, and it happened to work on the alt account with much lower stats as well. But this 6DU, I think the best move for this 6DU is to drop ensnares up here like you would if you were playing through survival. These ensnares are gonna delay the copter ogres coming in on these corners, which is going to allow your DSTs to kill them and have the ogre be dropped off of the map. Sometimes the copter will die, but it'll die over here, and then the ogre will get down and like run toward your stuff. It'll be on the map, and if it's not on the map, then it's one less thing for the DSTs to have to kill. So that's what I'm electing to do here with those ensnares. You'll see a bit of the range of the aura into this flyer lane, but there's not that many flyers coming in anyway. There's only one right now. There's not that many on the next wave either, so that's what I'm electing to do with the rest of the DU. And now that I've got a bunch of mana left over, again, the priority is going to be the buff beam. But that's it for this wave, this build phase. And then the Dark Elves are sort of the same, except you get 2 more. So I'm going to keep the map open. You can see the Rifted Dark Elves coming in. They run up and they get stuck on the walls here, but then a little bit later into the wave, we'll get 2 more from the north side. So I'm going to go ahead and kill these guys. These Rifted Dark Elves, they are the priority. They will kill your run if you don't deal with them and build around the fact that they come in. They are a bit of a challenge to deal with during the boss fight, but they will be the primary thing you need to deal with. So we've got another one coming in over here somewhere. Where is he at? Here he is. So he does have to jump over, and now, yeah, he's already on top of the tower stack. He's actually fire immune, of course, but this is what you have to do. Now, if he's harmless, if he's up here, naturally I get one that's fire immune. It's going to take me a little while to kill this one. It would be unfortunate if you had to deal with a fire immune Rifted Dark Elf during the boss fight. It would take you a while to kill it. But see, because he's targeting me and he's swinging his glaive there, he's not actually dealing damage to the towers. So he's just not really going to be an issue. Same deal with this one. He's a lot easier to kill because he's obviously not fire immune. Man, that would be really rough if you had to happen to have one fire immune during the boss fight. Hasn't happened to me yet. If it does, though, that'd be kind of tough to deal with. I wound up having enough mana to upgrade all of these DSTs once and still have 1200 mana left. That's one of the great things about having hardcore office between waves. None of the mana goes away. So what you might end up seeing too is you'll have a bunch of mana up here from the copter ogres dying if they're getting close enough to drop it onto the map. But when there's a couple seconds left, again, tower boost, and I'll wait for him to come around. I'll just go to this ballista. That way I don't have to rush and do my big jump there, my big boosted jump. I've got a couple Dark Elves coming in on the south already, so I'm gonna shoot him down, and then I'm gonna go deal with these guys. What I will do though, I'll kill this one. And the dragon's landed. Gonna make sure the boost is still up, and I'll leave that one for now. I'm gonna make it over here just to make sure I'm here for when this dragon, when he flies away. Oh my god, he's gonna breathe fire for me. Would you look at that? He'll leave after this probably. So I've got the Dark Elves coming in on the north side. Now I want him to leave because I want to go deal with those Dark Elves. So I'm gonna boost, run over. Alright, he's going to go down. Now, I've got Dark Elves on my stuff at this point. I've got one on that wall over there. Save the wall. Alright. And now I've got Dark Elves on my stack. But those walls, I feel like they help. So now I can kind of just dance around and make sure this guy dies. This Dark Elf is still here. Still hanging out. The dragon is probably leaving north soon. North is a good place for him to go. You kind of want to see that. Should have one more Dark Elf somewhere. But yeah, I don't know where he's at. Maybe I don't. Gonna go over and get him on this side. Now he's staying on that northeast ballista. I think I'm gonna miss him. Yeah. Yeah, I've got one more Dark Elf. He's beating on a wall. I'd much rather him be beating on a wall. Oop, didn't get him. much rather him be beating on a wall than my DSTs. So the wall, if that goes down and I lose it, not a big deal. Yep, there we go. So yeah, the wall ends up being bait. And let's just knock this guy out real quick. Boost the DSTs. I'm going to upgrade that. And the dragon's east. Let's go over it. Make sure we can snag him before he goes. If he goes. Oh, he's going to breathe fire. All right, another 3-cycle fight. I'm super okay with that. So, you know, you really want those Dark Elves to have to deal with walls before they get to your DSTs. That is going to help out a lot. You know, if you're not at the tower stack, the Dark Elves will attack the walls. If you're at the tower stack, they'll jump over the walls and then you'll have to kill them. But at least they won't be attacking your DSTs. This one got kind of low. It's another reason I keep some mana, but that's my strategy. That's how I did it. You know, it can be a little rough if you get bad RNG with Sirens, but that's how I got my first Rifted Draketooth. And I got it. Here's a 182, so this is obviously not as better as it's not as good as my 203. You can run this as many times as you want. They can get pretty good. Definitely upwards of 200, but hey, you know, a 180 would be fine. You're dealing fusion damage. It's going to be double against Rifted enemies if you're playing through Rifted Survival. So I got it. Well, sturdy. Jeez. Bad luck. But, you know, you could also run this for some accessories and some gemstones as well. So it's worth doing a few times until you get yourself a speedy and a striking, a decent enough synthesized Draketooth, whatever you end up being happy with. Honestly, like that 182, if that was my first one, I still would have kept it and just went, because all it's really for is killing Sirens and then dealing with Rifted Dark Elves and stuff when you want to break into Rifted and really farm your first proper set. But that was the strategy that I used. Feel free to try it out. It's going to be a lot easier if you have a lot easier. It'll be easier if you have a speedy gemstone. It would go a little smoother, but that's the strategy that I used. Any questions, as always, feel free to drop a comment. Links to Twitch and Discord are in the description. Thanks for watching.